Hi everyone, I'm Donna, the bookkeeping lady. I am an accountant, and I realize that this subject is about as interesting as watching paint dry, but it's absolutely vital for your business. So before I get started, the subject today is how to keep a clean financial house so you can avoid some accounting nightmares, and I have seen all of these nightmares come up. And if you find these videos useful, please like, share, subscribe, get the word out. I would really love to help you grow your business. And one of the best ways to do that is to make sure that you know where you're at in your finances. Now, bookkeeping and accounting is a very competitive business. I mean, it's cutthroat. It's absolutely crazy. And what I think is ironic is the people who are absolutely the worst at it are the ones that are going, oh, your previous accountant was an idiot. That's usually kind of a clue to me that if someone has to talk down who came before, it's usually kind of a clue to me that if it's a client, if they've gone through a bunch of bookkeepers, that's a red flag to me that they are a terrible client. And I always hate that. And if it's a bookkeeper that's telling me, yeah, the previous bookkeeper was an idiot, they better have some stuff to back that up, because everybody in this business seems to think that anybody that's not them is stupid. I don't know why. Partly, I guess, because it's a bunch of women and we're just like, ow, if we don't get our way. And it's always the women, by the way. It is the women bookkeepers and the women accountants that are just like, well, you didn't have me do it, so everybody else is stupid, and because it's not the way I would have done it. And I'm sure that people who have worked with me are going to go, yeah, Donna, you're no exception to the rule. I admit it. I have 5 sisters. I learned that very early on. If I just don't, and if I don't, I don't get my way. It is a very female thing, okay? But anyway, I want to talk a little bit about, I just was reading a thing on the Bank of America website where they talked about having a bookkeeper or an accountant, staff accountant is what they called it, for 10 years. And this person didn't do any of the work. The billings were wrong. The financials were wrong or incomplete, which is wrong. So they really didn't have any idea what was going on in their business. So I want to talk a little bit just about what it looks like to have a clean financial house as far as your accounting is concerned. Now, for those of you who are wondering, I do not do tax accounting. I do managerial accounting. And I really prefer that because that is giving business owners the information that they need to run their businesses. Managerial accounting is different from tax accounting. When I finish my degree, which shouldn't be too much longer, I'm going through a Western Governors University, which is at your own pace. And for those of you who are wondering, I was admitted to Brigham Young, but I don't have the time to go to classes on campus, which is why I'm doing Western Governors. But CPAs focus on tax accounting. That is actually mostly what public accounting is. I will be sitting for my CPA exam. I will also be sitting for what's called a CMA, and I didn't know this was a thing until just recently, which is the Certified Managerial Accounting, and that's what I'm really going to be putting my focus on. So, what does it mean to keep a clean financial house? It's more than just entering the transactions into QuickBooks. It is things like, now I don't like to do inventory because it's such a labor-intensive thing, but do you have the inventory on hand that you need? Do you need more? Do you need less? Do you have stuff that's sitting around that you don't actually need? And it's a very common thing. A lot of business owners like to stock up, and the problem with that, I mean, there's a reason we have just-in-time inventory. Sorry, I just washed my tongue and I can't do a thing with it. There's a reason why we have these just-in-time inventory systems where you order the product and it arrives just when you need it, so that you are only bringing in just what you need, exactly when you need it. And that is, it saves money. You don't have money tied up in your inventory. Inventory shows up as an asset on your balance sheet, and that means that there's money tied up in it while you're waiting to sell it. And the longer you keep it while you're waiting to sell, it that money could be going towards other things. So you need to look at your inventory. Do you have too much? Do you have too little? Do you have just enough? Are you missing anything? If you're, I don't know, a sportsman's store that sells outdoor equipment and you have hiking boots, are you selling the proper socks to go with them? Do you have those in stock? It's little things like that, and those things can make or break your business. The next thing is sales. Now, a lot of businesses just, they sell one thing, so we don't need to break it down. But maybe they sell things through different channels. And by that, I mean, if you have a brick and mortar store and you have an online presence, do you want to track your sales separately for your online store or your brick and mortar presence? And that can be very important if you're deciding, do I want to keep the storefront or do I want to just go online? Knowing how much traffic you're getting and what your figures are for each channel, each income stream, is extremely helpful that way. Also, we do a thing, it's called job costing. What that means is, how much money did you spend making the money you made? By way of an example, my best friend sells water softeners, water treatment systems. And he knows down to the penny how much his systems are, how much the salt is, how much it costs to have it installed. He knows everything that he needs to know about how much it costs him to install that softener. He also, which tells him how much he absolutely, what's the lowest he can sell it for, and of course it's better for him if it goes up. But just, he knows exactly what his cost per unit is. When you know that, then you know that for each unit, each widget that you sell, you have to charge this much. And yes, you should know what your lowest profit margin should be. And you should know, if you can make more than that, if the market will bear more than that, that's great. But you should know that. You should know how much it costs you to make the money that you're making. In my case, I know how much it costs me percentage-wise to have my bookkeepers do the work. Another thing that is important for business owners to know is customer relations. How much does it cost you to get a new customer? And that should be part of your budget. I know a lot of businesses will do things like things will get a little bit tight, and the first thing they get rid of is their marketing and advertising budgets. And I just go, so you're getting rid of the money. You're not going to spend the money that you need to spend to get business in the door? That makes no sense to me. Another thing that I see a lot, especially with solopreneurs, is they will get a full load of business and they will stop marketing. Here's the problem with that. Eventually, especially for bigger ticket items like web designers, if you're a web designer and you're going to make $5,000 off of that website and you don't continue to market and you don't continue to fill up that pipeline, then when you're done with this project, you're unemployed. You need to know what your return on investment is. You need to know what your cost of customer acquisition is. You need to know what forms of marketing is most effective. And that's called the ROI, return on investment. So if you know that Facebook gets you a client for $25, and you know that that client is good for $1,300 over the life of the client or customer, then you know what your return on investment is. You know that. Also, you need to be aware when it comes to customer relations, how many of your clients are coming back for more? How many clients are coming back for, if you're an auto repair shop, are they coming back the next time they need an oil change? Are they coming back after an oil change for any repairs that need to be done? If they're not coming back, you need to know that, because that's going to tell you that you're probably not doing something right, with the customer experience. And that's when it becomes important to put yourself in the customer's shoes. When I was active with Corporate Alliance here it was in Provo, they showed a video that talked about the customer experience. And they said, they pointed out, they used a hair salon as an example, where the first time the person goes into the salon, they come in and they're getting a neck massage, and they're getting a beautiful cut and color, and they're getting their hand massaged, and they're getting a cup of hot tea, and it's so relaxing. But the second time they come in, it's just a cut and out the door. But then the third time they come in, they get a neck massage but no hand massage and no tea. And the fourth time they come in, they get a tea but nothing else. And so what that is it's a very inconsistent experience for the customer. And I've had that happen with me, at hair salons. I love my hair salons. I love to feel beautiful and hopefully to look beautiful. It's certainly my aim. I love that. I love that sense of being pampered, but I want to have the same experience every single time. I want to just, if I go in to get a massage, I want to know exactly what's going to happen next, without this massage therapist necessarily having to tell me every single time. I want to have, I want my expectations met. If I go into an Aveda salon, I know that they're going to offer me hot tea, and if they don't, then I'm going to wonder what happened. I know they're going to offer me water, and if they don't, then I'm going to kind of wonder what happened. And really, it's these little things that make a world of difference. So these are the things that business owners need to know, that are, by the way, not covered by tax accounting. Also, accounts receivable. How long does it take you to collect your money? One of my very first accounting jobs was at the hospital back east. I think they've changed the name of it now, but it's owned by Baptist Healthcare, and I really loved that job. It was kind of crazy because it was my first real foray into office politics, and when I found out just how backstabby women are, when you have a whole bunch of them working together, oh my gosh. There was a constant, Donna, you need to watch your back because so-and-so doesn't like you, and I was like, I don't care. I'm here to do a job. I'm not here to make friends. If I make friends, that's great, but I am here to do a job. Well, but she says this about you. Well, you know what? That's out of my control. But one of the things that we tracked, because I was in accounts receivable, that was what I did. I was in charge of making sure that we got payment from Medicare. That was the insurance carrier that I worked with the most, and that we then had to submit claims to the supplementary insurance. This is way back in the early 90s, so or mid 90s. So, and then anything that was left over, we had to, get the client or the customer, the patient to pay. So we knew exactly how many days on average it took us to get a bill paid in full. We also knew what parameters we could operate in. We knew how much each individual agent was doing. The reason that's important is if they teach in business school that you want to pay as late as possible and get paid as soon as possible. So if your customers are doing the same thing, it can be kind of challenging to get your money. Also, the longer a bill stays in receivables, the harder it becomes over time to get paid. It's just human nature. And the longer it takes to get a bill paid, the harder it gets to pay it, because it kind of goes to the back of the mind. And they forget what they got the bill for. And that's really why a lot of companies are kind of tough on their collections, is it's so important to get paid on time. This is their cash flow. And so if it takes longer, it can really hurt the business. You also need to know the same thing for your payables. How long is it taking for your bills to get paid? Are you using services that aren't really paying off, that isn't worth the money? An example might be one of my clients down in Provo has Google Fiber. Google Fiber is in the Provo area. Hasn't gotten up here where I'm at yet. And it's $100 a month for ridiculously fast internet. I have Comcast and I pay over $100 a month. So I would be, if I had that available to me, I would be kind of looking at that. I would be looking to see if I'm paying for duplicate services. I would be looking at by the way, I've used Comcast for probably about 12 years now. I found that they're the most reliable carrier in my area, so I will never change. Tried that once. I went to CenturyLink, and that was not an optimum experience for me. But then again, I run a business out of my home. I have a son that likes to game, and so he uses a lot of bandwidth, so it was not optimal. So, you need to know what's going on with your payables, and especially if you're paying for duplicate stuff. This is where also knowing what your inventory is looking like. That includes things, by the way, like office supplies. If you have 5 cases of paper and it's a one-person shop, we're not going to use that. And the workplace is becoming more and more digital. I hardly ever use my printer anymore. So do you really need 5 cases of paper, or can you return some of them? And then the last thing, nothing is certain but death and taxes. Have you paid them? Have you filed them? Have you had an in-depth talk with your tax accountant about what strategies you should be using to reduce your tax bill? Now, this may stir some feathers, ruffle some feathers, and I really don't care, but I believe that it is the patriotic duty of every American to pay as little in taxes as they legally can. It's perfectly okay to avoid paying taxes. It's not okay to evade paying taxes, but you can avoid paying taxes. The tax law is complex. Make sure you talk to your tax accountant and use every deduction that makes sense for you. If you're a small solopreneur and you're not making, millions of dollars, you may hit that sweet spot where you've maximized your refund and you shouldn't take any more deductions. But if you have a bigger business, you may want to take more deductions in order to just maximize, decrease your tax bill and maximize any refunds that may be coming back to you. That's just financial sense. I won't go into the morality of the tax law or whether I think it's right or wrong. It just is what it is. But you want to use that to your benefit. You also want to make sure that your taxes are being paid on time. Now, this is why I stopped doing payroll years ago, by the way, is I would prepare tax forms, and I've had this happen with customers with sales tax as well. I would prepare the tax forms. I would go to the client because I don't have access to their money, so I can't pay their bills for them. So I would go to the client and I would say, this is your tax bill. You need to pay this by this date. This is how you pay it. You need to write a check to this government entity, or you need to go onto the EFTPS.gov to make your tax deposits. And the customer didn't do it. And then they blamed me. And I was just like, I gave you the returns. I sat down with you and told you this is what needs to happen next, and you didn't do it. That's, not my fault. I don't file taxes. I'm not a tax accountant. I will prepare the forms as a courtesy, but that's not what they pay me for. They would have to pay me a lot more money to take on that liability. So the trick is, make sure that you always know. You should know every day, if you have sales tax especially, you should know every day what your sales tax liability is. And you should be moving that money over to another account, because there's nothing worse than finding out you have a $14,000 sales tax due and you don't have $14,000 because you spent money that wasn't yours. So these are the things that need to happen in order to make sure your financial house is clean. It's overwhelming. I admit it. It's crazy. Um, However, I can help you take care of this for you. I can help you with all of this. The less that you have to do for yourself, if you are willing to sit down with a bookkeeper or an accountant once a quarter, and that is really stretching it because I really think it should be once a month. But if you're willing to sit down with them and to let them talk to you about this is what you owe, this is what should be coming in, this is what your revenue is from this channel, this is what you should be spending in marketing, and this is what your bills look like, this is what your tax bill looks like. If you're willing to sit down with them once a month, at least once a quarter is as long as this should go, then you will always have a really good idea of where your business is at. These are just a few of the keys, the high points. There is more to it than that. But because this is so in-depth, by the way, this is why you want a professional to handle it for you. If you ever see that your bookkeeper is not doing their job, it's better to talk to them sooner rather than later. I have seen so many people where the bookkeeper just wasn't doing the job. And some of those bookkeepers were CPAs. And they did not, the customer didn't do anything about it, the client. It's okay to, if you sit back and wait too long, then the mess just gets worse and worse and worse. And really, you don't want to restart your books every year. You need that audit trail in case anything ever happens. So if you're ever audited, you need to have those books and you need to kind of continue them unless they're just completely hopeless. So that's kind of it for today. Just really quick, if you would like me to help you keep your financial house clean, please comment below or go to the link. Feel free to reach out. I will offer you a free, no obligation bookkeeping consultation. And honestly, I look forward to hearing from you. Have a great day.